What's your why?
It's a tough one. I At the end, I think I want to make people happy. I
Yes.
think that's still my why. I know it sounds very cliche, but I did a lot of exercise about that and talks with people about that. But in the end, I just want to make people happy, and that makes me happy. So it's as simple as that, actually.
Absolutely. And I tell people, the transfer of energy is real, right? So
Yeah,
you come in and are happy and elated, and someone else has a different emotion or attitude, one can take over the other. And majority of the time, happiness wins. So I love that, definitely. As you continue in the business of coaching, do you ever speak about your experiences as it relates to someone in their leadership?
What do you mean exactly with that question?
So when you go into a coaching
Yeah.
session,
Okay.
is it often that the your previous
Mm.
commitment as a clown come up and assist with you teaching or coaching them, and how it played an impact in your life and reasons why you're actually focusing on leaders as of today?
Yeah, I do that in the intake when I talk to somebody. I explain them this comes from this, but in a conversation, I never do. In a conversation, I always, and that's where I revert to what I just said. I always come to them. I talk very little during sessions. Maybe at the end a little bit,
Yeah.
like figuring out what the next steps for the person are together. But during the conversation, no, I ask questions and I observe a lot. As a clown, you are trained. You learn that through all the years to watch every movement a person does,
Yeah.
and it becomes a second nature. At this point, it's unconscious with me. Unconsciously, I'm looking at people's how they sit, how they breathe, the expression of their face, and all that actually leads me to a question or a remark or together with what they say. But I must say, sometimes what they say is totally different of their body language. And then I go into the body language. So my questions then relate to what I see and not what I hear. So and that's also the hospital work, right? You see a child and it says something like, "Hey, who are you?" But sometimes it says, "Hey, who are you?" You know what I mean? Now I exaggerate, of course,
Yes,
but
yes, yes.
there's something else going on then, right? So you have to look through that, and as a coach, you constantly have to do that. Look through everybody shows his good side, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Let's compare with social media.
Yes.
Everybody posts pictures of them laying in the sun or going on holiday or drinking a cocktail, eating nice food. Nobody posts a picture where he sits in the corner crying, right? Nobody does that. And yet we do that once upon a time, which is totally normal. And that's the same in coaching. Everybody has this filter. I call it a filter. And once you have the ability to lift that filter, then you have a real connection. And that's the same when I visited children in hospitals. They all have a filter. Now, children not as much as adults.
Yes.
They have it. They have it. And but once you break through it, then and the longer you do the work, in the beginning it took a long time, but at the end it's like within seconds you can break through it because you just go right to the point where you need to be.
Yeah.
And that's also what I do in coaching. I go, and not a lot of people like it, huh? I can tell you. So people are children are still honest, open. The
Yeah.
more we grow, the more these shields come up all the time, and it's very hard to be ourselves. Should be the easiest thing there is, being ourselves, but it turns out it's a very hard thing to do.
Yeah.
And the first work that I need to do as a coach is breaking all these shields
Yeah.
so that I can talk to the real person who they are. And sometimes it takes a long time. And and that's of course my way of working. I do it in a very direct way. And some people can't stand it, but they are not my clients. If and I already noticed that in the intake conversations. If they don't want to hear the truth, they are not my clients. But I can't do anything with them if any coach, if your client doesn't speak the truth, it's like a doctor. When you go into doctor and you have a headache and you say, "Oh, my hand hurts," he
Yeah.
can't help you, right?
No.
That's the same with coaches. If you're not honest and open, a coach cannot help you. So it's the same there. Yeah.
Yes. Eddie, how long have you been doing coaching?
Since 2018 now.
2018.
Yeah.
How did it go for you during the pandemic?
That was my best time
Yes.
because everyone was online and everybody seemed to have suddenly had problems. Now I must say, after COVID, it took a dive. That's also why I started to give lectures and to go back amongst people and giving motivational keynotes. So the coaching has been less, and the speaking is going up. So there's a little bit of that going on at the moment.
And is that, do you believe that that's due to the world changing back to, being able to be comfortable with standing with one another and engaging?
Maybe, but it's mostly my thing. I missed the stage because I always was on stage and performing for people. And I'm not saying that giving keynotes is performing, but it's close.
Yeah.
But it's the connection that I don't feel when you do something online, which is all great and everything works online. Let me be 100% clear. Everything works exactly the same online. Coaching goes perfectly online. But for me, it's not the same feeling.
Yeah.
I also need the vibes of a room or a theater or something like that, and that uh, how shall I say it boosts me up to a
Yeah.
level where I can outperform myself. Let me call it that. It gives me something extra, and that is something I cannot do online. So that's really something you get from the audience. It's like kind of energy vibe. You can't explain it. It's there or
Yeah.
it's not. I
Yeah,
mean, yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Yes. And I sort of get what you're saying when it's especially if everyone is engaged and you see all the eyes on you and they're really, what you're saying is resonating with them.
yeah.
It's
Or
what.
not engaged, or not engaged. That's
Yeah.
even for me. It's even more challenging. That was
Yeah.
also, of course, that was also in hospital work when I came in, and I had a real hard time connecting with the child, and I had to look for what is the angle. So I really love an audience when I come in and they are like, okay, show me what you got. Okay, I love that because
Yeah.
then you need to really figure out, okay, how do I get them. I also love it when the audience is open and said, oh, and when they already clap when you come on stage, right? You have that's also nice. But I love the challenge also, and because then and then at some point they feel, oh, you are real, and at some point you got them, and that moment is really magical. The moment that you feel, oh, okay, now I've got them. Now we are in the same looking in the same direction, and
Yes.
that's yeah, I can't explain it else, and I really get a kick out of that. That's
So
yeah,
now that you're more, now that you're speaking more and
yeah,
you're standing in front of people and you feel like you're living now in your environment and what boosts you up so much more.
yeah.
Tell me about your vision when you are speaking.
Well, the thing is, I love to speak, and most of the time it's really a success. The thing that bothers me is, and that is my vision for the next thing I'm going to do. I'm going to work on that. You know, you ca- to begin with, let's say that 80% of the people are really engaged, right? The
Yeah.
other 20 maybe engaged, 80% really engaged. And from this 80%, they come out of the room and they go for coffee. And when the day is over, it's only like even 30% that is still engaged, right? And
Yes.
3 days later, it's maybe 1% or 5%. You know what I mean? So it declines sometimes very rapidly. When somebody has some trouble, financial or whatever, they are inspired and they come out of the room and they get a phone call and it's gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's really gone. And that's a pity. So what I'm working on now is how can I be a real change,
Mhm.
even during the hour or half an hour or 2 hours, whatever. How can I be the real change for that person in the room that gets my message, that gets the insight,
Yeah.
right? But then goes out and back home to his wife or husband or whatever, and walks against that wall again,
Yeah.
and it happens that fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the inspiration that person had, the motivation, it's it's gone.
Yeah.
And that's the key with a lot of speakers, right? You have a lot of good speakers. You're really motivated. You say, "Oh wow, this is great! I'm going home. I'm going to do this." But 3 days later, it is really gone.
Hmm.
And for me, that's a challenge. So I'm looking at ways to see how I can really,
Keep them engaged.
yes, but for themselves,
Yes.
because I
Yes.
mean, they spend their time and sometimes money to come and listen to a speaker.
Yeah.
It should have more than just an inspiration for the moment.
Yes.
And so that's my next challenge, and that's also my vision that it has to be possible.
Yes. And so it's interesting, a little bit about me. I'm a real estate agent and I host open houses, and
Right.
you have people, they're coming in and they're excited about the house, they're ready, and when they leave, again, they're at another house, right? So
Right.
in my thought process of how do I keep them engaged on this home, which I seen their excitement and their joy, and
Yeah.
they're picking out areas and rooms and decorating it in their vision, right? And so one of the things that we had often did was we don't let the next hour go by without having that communication with them. Then that next morning, hey,
Yes.
and so
Yeah.
I get exactly what you were saying,
Yeah.
because it probably
Yeah.
took me a little while to figure out how to keep them engaged. And if that isn't the house, right? Or if that wasn't the goal as to why they came to the home, or if
Mhm.
they even came to see you,
Yeah.
Eddie, what is it that you need from me? What is it that kept you so intrigued while you were there?
Yeah.
And then, that wall came up and now you're back in that
Mhm.
same mode. What is it that you need? And then being a resource, right? Because I believe I'm sure even when you speak, you're a resource, you're a coach.
Absolutely. It's a challenge. It's a
Yeah.
challenge. And if you speak for, let's say 500 people, you can't call them all up, or
Yeah.
you can't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not possible.
Yeah.
But again, I really believe there has to be that thing, that trigger that puts them in action, that puts
Yeah.
them, that they can, this feeling that I have, that they can hold it longer than an hour, that they can, even if they can hold it for 1 week, that would already be very be great.
Yeah.
Now it's 1 hour sometimes, or even less, and that's, for me, that's, um how can I cannot put that, it's a pity, it's, but that's not the real word. It's yeah, it's just a shame that it stops there. And I know that people, when they can have a hold on that feeling, it would be so good for them. They will be so prosperous, and so that's the next challenge.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I like that. And I can completely understand, as I can relate to it, although in a whole different field, I can definitely relate to that. And with
Mhm.
all that said, what was your most significant learning experience to get you to where you are today?
Um, the biggest, maybe not the biggest thing, but one of the things that maybe it's also because I'm getting older. Shh, don't tell anybody. Is there is nothing new. We
Mm,
think we are inventing the water again, or the hot water. It's not. 2000 years ago, even before Christ, the Greeks were talking about happiness, talking about all these things, and they had the same problems and
yeah.
the same solutions as we
Hmm.
have now. Maybe in different words or different things, times were different, but the basic is the same. Again, the same with leadership. Again, the same with all these things where people talk so much about leadership. I'm a lot on LinkedIn. Oh my God, most of the conversations are about leadership, and they keep on and everything. At some point, it's very funny. At some point, I was fed up with social media. Right, I had it, and I stayed off for it like 3 to 4 months. I
Hmm.
just didn't go on social media, and when I came back, it was just as if I didn't leave. The conversations were still the same.
Yeah.
The same people were still talking about the same things.
Yeah.
So that's something that people should realize.
Yeah.
People are always looking for the next new thing. There is no next new thing.
Yeah.
Let's look at the old things and put them in use for us now. That's what we should do,
Yeah. Yeah.
because there is really, really, really nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
It is all. I mean, in personal development wise, then it's all been done before.
Yeah.
And it's not like technology that constantly is changing and changing fast.
Yeah.
But here, this thing, this isn't evolved in 3,000 years. And it can't, because it took us million years to be where we are now.
Hmm.
So how stupid must we be, literally? And I'm really saying it, how stupid must we be that we think that in 1,000 years something has changed when we are evolving for 1 million millions of years. So, and once you get that, then you start to get put do connections, and you try, then
Yes.
you are starting to connect things, and that's really nice. And I also try that with in my lectures, in my coaching, try to connect things, because the solution is there, and it's right in front of you.
Yeah.
And it's been done before so often. And
Definitely.
yeah, the moment you realize that, it's a game changer. It's a real game changer. Yeah.
Yes. And as you mention these things in coaching, your previous experience, and where you're going with your vision currently today, I do want to ask this question because I think it makes and helps us to understand what's your goal for being on the show today.
Well, it's like it's not only my vision, it's my why.
Yeah.
I want to make people happy, right? And if I can inspire them a little bit, hey, that's what Eddie says there. That's interesting. Let me see what Eddie is saying more, or maybe he can help me, or whatever.
Yeah.
If there's one, just one, that I have inspired by doing this, it's okay for me. That's
That'll,
that's really all that I expect nothing, so
yes.
everything is a plus. Every
Absolutely.
human being that says, that's great. That's okay. That's already enough. And
Yes.
maybe who starts reading a book because he said, he spoke about 3,000 years. That's the Greek. That are the Greek. Oh, what is he talking about?
Yeah.
Only that. And that was with me when I was younger too. I heard something speak, and he spoke about a book, or he spoke about an insight, and I would go to. In that days, it was the library, right? There
Yes.
was,
Yes.
remember, early 90s,
Yes.
no internet. So I went into the library. I took a book and I read the book, or sometimes only two pages. Oh, it's too hard, or it's too this. But sometimes I really read it, and I love that. I love to inspire people. I love to work with people, and their happiness really, literally, is my happiness. And I think it's a clown thing. If you make people laugh, that means you did a good job, and that means you feel good about yourself, right?
Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an excellent time building out your vision and becoming a Vision Pro yourself.